any sports as a kid?
I did. The main sport was baseball. I played that, was fortunate enough to play the whole time through grade school all the way up to high school. I wanted to play other sports, basketball and mainly football. My mom was against it. Um, but that was one of those things that I still found ways to play. If it wasn't even on a football field for the school, it was in a lot at a schoolyard. But baseball was probably my primary, so really fell in love with that. I was a lefty, so not to say there's not as many lefties that play baseball or is consistent. It's becoming more consistent now, especially switch hitters and everything. But I started in grade school, played all the way up through high school, and then after that, I took up golf, and also when you get out of high school, the main option is slow pitch softball. So I played that, and then actually when I just turned 30. There was a Central Indiana league that started that was 30 and older baseball. It was a wood bat league, and I played that for 2 years. And actually, the first year, our team won the championship. They were the Mooresville Reds. That was the Hoosier Town Ball Association. They actually switched over, and I think they're up to like 13 teams now and still play. But that was a fun experience. It just became the point that having kids and the amount of time that was dedicated to practicing games became too much. So golf is my side hobby now, and I get to bowl every once in a while.
And now you also still coach baseball, right?
Now we can go into the coaching part. I actively coach. I just became the head coach of the third grade travel basketball team. So I do travel baseball. I have an oldest child that plays both those sports. I think his primary passion is going to be basketball. So it's one of those things that I enjoy sports enough that anything I can do to teach new kids and have them still continue liking it or having fun at it. I really want to do that. I don't want to shy away somebody from doing a sport. And that's why as soon as my oldest was young enough to play basketball and baseball, I was there to volunteer and help coach. And since then, I've done that ever since. So I think I've been coaching baseball. It's probably been 4 or 5 years. And then basketball, it's about that same amount, but it started in rec and then since I've helped either in rec or travel.
Wow. So that's why you're busy like all the time.
Yeah, I can just give you a sample of we actually start practicing next week, and this is our off season for baseball, but we still practice once a week, so that's still getting some reps in. But for basketball, my practice schedule will be Tuesday, Wednesday practices, Thursday practice for baseball, and then we're trying to throw some scrimmages in there on the weekend. And then once basketball starts, basketball will be Saturday, Sunday games. So it'll be 4 days out of the week for basketball and still 1 or 2 for baseball.
Good Lord.
I enjoy it. I mean, there's always times where you're just like, can I just take a break? But there's only a short window on coaching your kids this young, so I'm taking advantage of it. And one of the other things is there's a shortage of volunteers. You know, you can have 8 kids on a team for basketball and not have anybody want to volunteer. We've got other groups forming that they don't have. There's a lack of volunteer coaches. I mean, you're not getting paid for your time, but I do it just because I enjoy sports.
I'm all of a sudden way more grateful that you do my league after all that.
Yeah, that's my passion for sports, and I know a couple other individuals their same mindset is like that. I've worked with some and just known some over the years, and I kind of took that once once my son was 4. Started getting involved in what I can do. I'm on the baseball board for the rec league, and I don't I was really involved the first couple of years. Because of travel, I'm not as involved. But if I can go and help clean up the park to make sure we have fall baseball, that's what I do to help out. But with coaching and stuff, that eliminates some of the time that I was always over there. But a lot of other stuff goes into being on like a board and stuff.
Wow. Okay, let's move on to the next question. What sports teams did you watch growing up?
So my dad was huge into baseball. Well, he was huge into all sports, but the Chicago Cubs was always on WGN. Listening to Harry Carey and Steve Stone was probably the first, I don't know, listening of a game that I fell in love with the announcers of it. That is a big indicator, or I guess, of me watching baseball. But I had the opportunity to go to a couple Cubs Reds games, and then eventually I had some family that lived in Wisconsin, and we went up to County Stadium for the Brewers. And at that time, the Brewers were in the AL, and they since have been put into the NL with the Cubs. But my one thing is I kind of picked up liking the Brewers, and my whole thought was, my dad's a Cubs fan, and the Brewers were at that time in the AL. Maybe they would meet in the World Series, so I kind of latched on to the Brewers at that time. Unfortunately, MLB did a realignment and switched Houston and Milwaukee into the different leagues, and now they're in the same division. So I actually was really happy when the Cubs won the World Series, and that's probably the Brewers' biggest rival. But it was, that was my dad's team, and also for Harry Carey and everything like that. So I was pretty emotional when that happened. If I wanted emotion of a team, the Packers were the team that once I started getting gear from them, Brett Favre became their quarterback, and that was all as like a childhood. But just I latched on the Packers, and they're probably my number one team that I followed. Started being in Indiana. I was born in Bloomington. Basketball is always a thing. You didn't know that IU had a football team. You just knew they had a basketball team. I went to games. You got to see Bobby Knight on his coaching and seeing the players and everything that went through there. The Pacers had a really good teams in the early 90s. So as a kid, that was easy to follow. And that's what probably the base of my sports whenever I was watching growing up.
What sports do you follow now?
Well, I kind of went into it with, teams growing up. My number one team would be the Packers. I got to go to Green Bay the first time when I was a senior in high school, and I don't know, it's just it's a different atmosphere. And since then, I became a shareholder, so I can consider myself an NFL owner. That's kind of a rare feat that most people can't say. I bought a share of the team on the last sale they had, which I think was about 4 or 5 years ago. All the shares are bought. They actually, when they first started it, it was to keep the team afloat and keep them from disappearing from Green Bay. Since then, they do shares to any renovations or anything that they add to Lambeau Field. So they only do it so many times. The NFL kind of regulates that. But I was fortunate enough to get a share of an NFL team. So Packers are my number one team that I follow. They won last night, so that makes it better. Pacers are probably my number two team. When me and my wife met, I went to Pacer games through my years, but we actually wanted to go see Victor Oladipo, his first game when he played with the Magic. and we bought tickets off of StubHub. And then throughout that season, we probably bought tickets to about 15 games, just because we wanted to go see. The Pacers had a good team at that time, and then we ended up seeing that they had a fan zone. We tried out for it the next year, which I had. I had to talk her into it, but once I talked her into it, we committed. You have to commit to 41 games for the season, and if they make the playoffs. And at that time, they had just won the Eastern Conference. I think they made it all the way to the finals that year, but they had a good team. So we tried out. We had 30 seconds to impress Paul George and George Hill, and there was some gold parachute pants involved, and some background boombox music. But me and her did a dance, and we ended up getting season tickets. That was the last year of the G2 zone with Paul George and George Hill.
I mean,
Miles Turner was drafted.
Just being there.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you made a fool of yourself, who cares? I mean, you were, there.
Oh yeah. To be honest, when we did the tryout, one of the things I did, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen Hitch with Kevin James, but he does a Q-tip dance, and I innovated that into a 3-pointer. And like I did a Q-tip, and I was like, he hit the basket and then throw it away. They were laughing, and I thought they were kind of laughing at me. I don't know. That must have been something that maybe went into the decision, because when we left, we were like, there's no way we got these tickets. And we got them. So the cool thing is the fan zone sits at the club level, and it was like $5,000 season tickets that
I can't
we
believe
got
you had
for
the
free.
guts to even do that. I would not be able to do that.
Yeah, so it was a big commitment. There was times where there would be, 3 games during the week, and then the one thing we had to do, find parking and figure out our schedule around that. But first year was easy. The second year, Miles Turner got drafted by the Pacers, and it became the Turner's block, and we made it then. But at that time, we had a child, a baby, and Emily put him in a carrier, my wife, and
oh my God,
we still tried out, and we kind of used our son as a marketing thing for making the thing. So we actually had at times where people would come up and get our pictures, because when we played LeBron James, when he played, I think that first time was with the Heat, and then I think he went to the Cavs. But my wife came up with an innovative way of putting LeBron James as a bigger baby than I am on the front of the carrier.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was genius marketing by her. So I give her all the props on that. And throughout the season, she put different things for Miles Turner, like go Turner, and he was in a carrier, and he probably went to over 100 games in a carrier in the two seasons plus that we were in the fan zone with him. We met some awesome people throughout the way. I still talk to some of them, and that was a fun experience. The only thing is, when you have child number 2, it's difficult to commit to that. So we just did half season, and then since then we just buy random tickets to go to the games.
I think you're crazy just trying to do it with one child, like run 2.
It was a lot, but the cool thing is we had a relationship with some of the people. Like our oldest became the MVP of the fan section, just because he was a really good child, and never really fussed or anything like that. And so his involvement in the fan section, I think that maybe be part of why he enjoys basketball so much. Who knows? But yeah, that was an experience being with the Pacers. So it was an enjoyable watching it. I actually got to go last year in the fan section with my neighbor, and it's kind of kind of become part of the team in that, just because you go to so many games. And a lot of the games I went to last year were the games they played, the bottom of the barrel teams, and they didn't play very well in January. And then they made it all the way to the NBA Finals. So they kind of put it together, and it was kind of cool seeing that firsthand. So I went to, I think, 13 games regular season this year, and 2 playoff games. I got to go to the one where they beat the Knicks game 6 to make it to the finals. So that was a fun experience. Not gonna lie, I might have shed a tear or two, but it was it was cool because Pacers being small market, you never know how many times that they're going to go to the NBA Finals.
Right, and then just see it end in such a rough way. Heartbreaking.
Man, with that injury, that was heartbreaking. Still thought they had a chance because Halliburton had been hurt, at random times through the year, or missed a couple games, but it just didn't work out. It's just how it played out. And then just a small mentioning. So I'm a Brewers fan, but I just enjoy baseball in general. But baseball is probably the one I can watch and follow as a sport in general. But definitely the Packers and the Pacers are my 2, and then IU, like following them too for college.
All right. What fantasy sports have you done before?
So,
and I know this is a lot, and I know you in particular is the type of guy who really likes to dive into the stats and the details and all of that. So I know this is going to be a lot.
Yeah, so it all really started, I would say, in high school. We used to do weekly pick'ems. We did weekly pick'ems and football. So you would just print out the NFL schedule. I don't think I did it. I think it was one of my buddies would do it, and I'm pretty sure we all put $1 in or something, and or someone's lunch. Who knows? We probably did random bets of stuff whatever we could scrap up, and then whoever won the week, we would just print out the next week. And I remember starting with that, and then the fantasy football was probably next. I actually, from a friend at work, got into fantasy baseball, and at that time, that was one that was $100, and that was a big amount of money, or big commitment now. And now that's just like a normal amount. But I did that. It was probably 2008 that I got into fantasy baseball, and then it was kind of since then I've done football, baseball, hockey. But really, the mainstay would be fantasy football. And then ever since Indiana legalized gambling, I, DraftKings and FanDuel are one of my friends now. So that's paid for a couple golf trips and random other things. So it's a fun side sport. I'm one that I don't put a lot of money on bets. I know a lot of people that put big amounts. So I don't get big wins out of there, but I also want to still enjoy
it. Aside from this league, are you still doing any of the other ones? Like, you still doing football, baseball, whatever, or is it just like the gambling and our league?
No, I'm still gambling, but I do a confidence pick'em in football. So you take all of the games. For instance, yesterday, Packers and Commanders played. I put the Packers to win and 7 points. So however many games are played that weekend, you put the one that you really think is going to win all the way down to 1. So when bye weeks happen, there might only be 13 points, but the first couple weeks of the season are 16. And I actually won week 1 of it. So I lost 2 games with a total of 10 points off, and won the first week. So that was one that it was a friend of a friend that started it, and I kind of enjoyed theirs. I think they had 15 in it last year. I think there's 14 for this. So you get a weekly pot winner, and then there was an overall. And I usually finish top 5 in it. Last year I actually won it, so it was a decent amount of money I won through there, and then I won 2 weeks of it. But definitely starting this year, winning the first week has been awesome. So I do that. There's a fantasy football one that has been through work. It's probably been going on, I don't know, I would say 8+ years. We actually incorporated a belt into it about 4 years ago. I was fortunate enough to get the belt, so I felt like I was, I don't know, a WWE wrestler after winning this heavy belt. I had to give it up last year. I lost, didn't have as good of a team, but that's also part of it. There's strategy that you can do for drafting. Same thing with this league that you run. There's strategy on that, and then sometimes bad luck happens. And then I also do the other pool that you do, the all sports one.
Yeah.
I've been doing that. I've been in that for 3 years.
3 or 4 years, yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
So I do that. There are times that I was probably in about 3 or 4 fantasy football leagues on top of the confidence thing, and I would say every couple of years I'll either withdraw from them or reduce it down because it gets to be too much, and especially with coaching and other things going on.
I was about to say, you got to factor in the fact you're doing all these on top of all the other sports you're doing already.
Yeah, and there's sometimes the wife is like, "What are you doing?" And I might be staring at a phone. What I think is only about 10 minutes turns into a couple hours. So you have to factor that in. Life happens, and you can't always be glued to that. But for how much I like sports, I try to stay involved.
You're doing the coaching. You're doing all these leagues, and we still haven't talked about all the sports that you're actually watching. Like, how many games a week you probably watch?
I'm very fortunate that my wife supports that. She's a big sports fan. I mean, that was a big thing when we first started dating. That it was kind of cool that somebody said, "Hey, let's go to a Pacer game," and then we committed to 15 more of them, and then we committed to season tickets that we won, and then we went to Green Bay. And for her, she's not cold weathered, but she started enjoying, I think, for what I saw in like the Brewers and the Packers. They're big into tailgating, and it's just a different atmosphere. Like, I went to a Colts game growing up, and you go to that and it's a whole different thing. But yeah, she puts up with a lot. So, I've got a neighbor that we put a TV in the backyard and we'll sit and watch college football or a NASCAR race, or, we made a whole tailgating thing last year on one of the NFL weeks. We just had some fires going and watched from the day game all the way till the night. So it's cool that we got supportive people around me that I'm able to do that. But yeah.
Okay. So what do you like about the league that I'm running, the Owners League in particular?
I mean, it's new. It's something that a lot of people know the 4 major sports, but to actually make something into a league out of it, it's unique. And for how much I love sports, it was something that I was really interested in. So it was different. Everybody's taking different strategies in it, and it was something that nobody's ever really thought of. Just in you having the teams one was something new altogether. Most times all you have is where you're focused on one league. You got fantasy football, you got basketball, you got baseball, but to have it where you're picking teams and stuff, I think it's a good concept. And there was one similar. I talked about the fantasy baseball earlier. One of the things that only certain things get to choose on whenever you go to sites like CBS or making your own or having it on there is one of the baseball ones you could do pitching staffs. And it became very too detailed to pick single pitchers, and so to have a pitching staff was so much better on choosing, but you don't find that option very often, and you are making it where it's teams, and I think that's an easier way to keep up on it without, you still have some homework to do on teams, but not as much as, for a lot of fantasy sports as individuals, or looking at rosters and stuff. And for this, you just get to pick teams, and I enjoy that.
I try really hard to make it as least intrusive as on your life as possible. So, it kind of covers the entire year, but even though it covers a lot of all year long, it's not actually that much work. I mean, just a little bit.
Yeah, and you're not having to check multiple times a week. You set your roster, and there's just there's limited work having to go into it. So it makes it easier for somebody that enjoys sports. They can still look at it, and they don't have to daily look at it or make changes. It's already set.